Thank you so much to Asna, to all of you fabulous, amazing colleagues in India and beyond. I'm almost speechless with the power and the passion that you are showing today, particularly Tamkin, your words are really moving me greatly. As chair of the International Stillbirth Alliance, I am so honored to be a part of this launch of the first formal registered society for stillbirth in India. So the International Stillbirth Alliance was founded almost 20 years ago by 3 bereaved mothers with a vision to not only to take a global approach to stillbirth prevention and support, but a vision to link researchers together with clinicians, together with bereaved parents. And today, ISA is active in many countries around the world. You can see this map, which shows some of the places where our members are located and some of the additional countries where we have ongoing work. And we, as you've heard from Neelam and Tamkin, we are privileged to work with our wonderful partners in India, the Postgraduate Institute for Medical Research and Education in Chandigarh, with the Public Health Foundation of India, with Survival for Women and Children Foundation, and we look forward very much to working with the Stillbirth Society of India. Our mission is to focus on raising awareness and promoting global collaboration for prevention of stillbirth and newborn death and provision of care for all those affected. So, excuse me. So I work on stillbirth because I'm a mother. This is me in 1999. I was pregnant with my first child. I was living in Vietnam at the time, and you can see how excited and joyful I am at the oncoming birth. This is me on July 13th, 1999. I am holding my first son, Wilder Daniel Leischer. He was stillborn at 38.5 weeks, just 11 days before his due date. This was after a perfect pregnancy and no cause was ever found. I can tell you that I feel personally and firsthand the grief of stillbirth and also how long that grief can last. My son was born 22 years ago and I still can perceive that loss just beneath the surface. So Wilder is who is driving my passion for this work. So we all know how great the burden of stillbirth is globally, in my country, in the US, and certainly in India. And there are many factors that are conspiring against us. Perhaps the most important of these factors, as Neelam mentioned, is the persistent invisibility of stillbirth. This is a word cloud that many of you have seen. It's from the 2016 Lancet series on stillbirth, and it shows the 500 most commonly used words in a group of key United Nations global health reports. You can hardly see the word stillbirth. Stillbirth was excluded from the Millennium Development Goals in the year 2000, and stillbirth is still excluded from the Sustainable Development Goals that were launched in the year 2015. And yet, we know that the majority of stillbirths can be prevented. This is a tractable issue. Excuse me. As we've heard already, in many parts of the world, including in India, about half of stillbirths occur intrapartum. Virtually all of these can be prevented with high quality available emergency obstetric care, but there are many other interventions that can also prevent stillbirth, not only intrapartum stillbirths, but also antepartum stillbirths. You see a few of these listed here. Some of them are very well known: folic acid during pregnancy, treating your bed nets to prevent malaria, and so on. Many of the interventions that can prevent stillbirth, however, are high-level policy issues that relate to equity and to providing an opportunity for our young women, ensuring that there is no exposure to environmental toxins, no child marriage, ending domestic violence, and an issue that's particularly relevant for my own country, ending structural racism. Even in high-income countries, stillbirth rates are too high. This is a chart that shows the stillbirth rates on the right-hand side of about 50 high-income countries and upper middle-income countries. And the first thing to note is what the wide variation is in stillbirth rates, from nearly 9 per 1,000 total births in Ukraine. But what's most important really is to look at the lowest global rate, and that is in Iceland. It's just 1.3 per 1,000 total births. There is no biological reason for any country to have a higher rate than this. And I always think about that in the back of my mind when I think about what the global goal really should be. Yet shockingly, as you can see there, and as we know, there is still persistent fatalism on the part of clinicians about whether stillbirth is really preventable. This is a chart, it's actually rather old now, and it needs to be updated, showing that many clinicians believe stillbirth is always or often the natural selection of a baby never supposed to live. As Nuzat pointed out, it's usually the marginalized and the disenfranchised who pay the price, with huge inequity, not only between countries, but also within countries in terms of stillbirth rates. In Ireland, stillbirth rates in the poorest families are 3.5 times higher than those in the wealthiest. In Australia, stillbirth rates among Aboriginal families are 50% higher than among non-Aboriginal families. And in the US, Black American stillbirth rates are double those of white Americans. In fact, this chart shows that in the US, Black American stillbirth rates today equal the stillbirth rate of white Americans 35 years ago. Inequity in stillbirth rates is a huge part of the global burden. But there isn't all bad news. The Global Strategy for Women's, Children's, and Adolescents' Health, which is the implementation arm of SDG 3 on public health, does include a stillbirth rate indicator. And the Every Newborn Action Plan, the United Nations mechanism, is supporting countries, including India, to achieve the global target of 12 per 1,000 births by 2030. At ISA, we have tried to take the Every Newborn Action Plan one step further. As we've already heard, in 2016, the Lancet published the Ending Preventable Stillbirths series, and this included a call to action to end preventable stillbirths and ensure respectful care for all those affected. At ISA, we have built a scorecard to track progress against each component of the call to action, and we've adapted this scorecard for various settings. And as Neelam mentioned, and others, we've also launched the Parent Voices Initiative, which includes projects here in India, as well as in Kenya, and to be soon in Australia, to build toolkits to support parents and clinicians for respectful care that is centered on parents' voices and needs. We've also worked very hard to elevate parent voices all the way to the global level. This is Christine Wangechi from Kenya. She's a stillbirth mom with no experience ever speaking on a global stage, but she was brave enough to share her story and her perspective with over 2,000 participants at the global launch of the stillbirth estimates by UNICEF and WHO last fall. So underpinning ISA's work is our total commitment to centering the experience and voices of bereaved parents themselves. I know from my own personal experience how invisible and silent stillbirth can make you feel. The call to action calls on countries to identify mechanisms to reduce stigma associated with stillbirth among all stakeholders. Listen to these parents' voices. Sabine, a stillbirth mom from Rwanda, says, "Hearing dehumanizing words toward my baby and myself was the worst." Chris, a stillbirth dad from the UK, says, "I want the world to know that talking to bereaved parents about their babies that have died doesn't remind us that they died. We haven't forgotten. It reminds us that they lived and that you remember them, and that's a precious gift." Priya, a stillbirth mom from the UK, says, "Cheyenne, I want the world to know and remember his name." Parents also need respectful bereavement care. Lois, a stillbirth mom from Uganda, who is pictured here with her family, says, "When they learned that I had a stillbirth, the human resources manager at my job called me to report back for work within the first week of delivery, saying that I was not entitled to maternity leave since my baby had died." Sophia from Sweden says, "Many people are unsure what to say. Sharing our experience with other parents and supporting each other was crucial for me to get through the first few years." And Oyele from Nigeria says, "The major support needed is psychological support." it is clear that there is so much that needs to be done. There are many, many crucial initiatives that the Stillbirth Society of India is planning to take part in and to lead, and I welcome that. A focus on equity is crucial. A focus on different causes of stillbirth is also critical, and here I would also urge the Stillbirth Society of India to consider a committee that looks at unexplained stillbirths, which make up about 30% of all stillbirths, no matter what context you're examining. Parents are a critical partner and ally in the work that you all will be doing. We can see from recent research from ISA that we found over 500 organizations for supporting stillbirth in over 70 countries, but the vast majority are existing in North America and Europe, with just a tiny number in Central and Southern Asia, as you can see from this little slice of the pie. And this is why I am so thrilled and honored to be here at the start of such an important initiative with you passionate colleagues, with your variety of diverse experiences across the great nation of India, from the urban to the rural, from the north to the south, and the east and the west. I know that the Stillbirth Society of India will be making critical contributions, not only to ending preventable stillbirths, but also to ensuring respectful care for all those affected. So on behalf of the International Stillbirth Alliance, and most importantly, on behalf of my own son, Wilder Daniel, I thank you so much for being able to be part of this, this landmark event. Thank you.